So today we're talking about the power of God. Okay. So how many of you heard this? We have the power of God. That anybody not know that? You are divine. Everybody knows that? You don't know you have the power of God. Okay, all right, that's interesting. Remember the Bible? Ye are gods. Does that sound familiar? And Jesus said, all these things and more can you do, right? Okay, so that's probably one. I'm not a Bible person. I'm really, I know a few passages about love and that's my favorite. Ye are gods. Every one of you is divine. Every one of you has the power of God. When you were made in God's image, it wasn't mean that you look like God. It means that you have the power. God gave us all the power. It's important to understand that. Any of you read a book called Power versus Force by David Hawkins? Okay. Okay. In this, David Hawkins, he wrote, he used kinesiology to show the frequency of things. Everything in life has a frequency. No matter what it is, a rock has a frequency, food has a frequency. We have frequencies. We go up here. And this is his chart that frequency on the other side. Okay. Maybe we can put it behind so people can. Okay, okay, great. Behind you, right there. Oh, great. Okay. This is Hawkins scale. All right. Down here, it starts here with shame, has a frequency of 20. And here it goes on up to the emotions, guilt, apathy, grief, and fear. There's a lot of the world the last couple of years that was right here, fear. That's getting by, okay? Fear is not on the path to ascension. If you want to get on the path to ascension, you have to work at letting go of fear and moving up, bringing yourself up in frequency. When you bring yourself up in frequency, you can get yourself, let me go down so they can see me here. Keep forgetting. Oh, they can see you up there too, but you don't have to. Oh, can they? Okay, all right. Well, let me stay up here. I would prefer to be up here. Kind of maneuvering all around the equipment here. Okay. As you move up and you let go of the shame and the guilt, we've had hundreds of past lives. Most of us, maybe some newbies are here, but most of us have had, you are probably mostly old souls. And we've had hundreds of years. We were here during the Inquisition and before, beyond. As you work your way up, to get on the path to ascension, you have to get past fear. You have to get past fear. Okay. Fear is a showstopper. I need to down here for my notes. How many of you are aware that we're living in the matrix? That there's a matrix out there? One, anybody else? All right, you got a few people who know about the matrix? Okay, some people call it the deep state. Other people call it the cabal. The mainstream news would call it conspiracy theory. Okay, the name conspiracy theory was created by the CIA to discourage people or kind of make fun or criticize people who are questioning the assassination of Kennedy. And so it's a common term that they use when you're questioning anything that is not what the government puts out. The deep state has been in control for centuries. The deep state has brought us every war. The deep state has brought us the Inquisition. They bring pain and suffering, and they like control. The deep state controls the pharmaceutical companies. They control the government. That's why your congressmen are always voting for big corporations instead of your good. This deep state controls much of our lives. That's why cancer has never been resolved. That's why children are getting cancer. That's why we have additives in our food that are not allowed in other countries because they're carcinogenic. It's because the deep state is in control with the food supply. One thing they do is they control people. They've learned how to manipulate people, and they manipulate people with fear. As long as they can keep you in fear, you can't come into your power. If we all suddenly were aware of our power and could use that power, they'd be helpless. But as long as they can keep us in fear, they're in control. All right. Once you get higher than this, being that we are divine and we have this power, we have the power to declare ourselves immune to any illness. You have that power. I could walk into a room full of people with COVID and TB or dengue fever. I would not bat an eye and I would not catch anything because I have the power of God and I declare myself immune to any illness. And I have not had any illness for decades. Every time, it's amazing that some of you don't realize, every time you have a speaker up here, they talk about the power of God and all the power you have. Stop and listen to it. Listen to the voice within. How many of you meditate? Okay. All right. Yeah, that's good. Well, that's doing one of the things about the deep state, they have control devices. They have many control devices. And they're very clever. They've gotten you to go out and buy one and put it in your living room. When you hear something, ask yourself, is what I'm hearing to empower me? Is it to teach me, or is it to control me? If it's to control you, it's a lie. Okay. God would not send you somebody to control you. Years ago, many years when I was a kid, I was the most fearful person that there was. I was afraid of everything. I was so fearful. When I graduated from high school, I was offered a completely paid for college education. And I turned it down because I was afraid if I went to college, I would have to get up and speak in front of people. That's how fearful. I grabbed the first man who asked me to marry him because I thought nobody else would want me. Well, you can imagine how that turned out. You get one neurotic attracts another neurotic. So, but I was always a seeker. I was always a seeker. And one morning when I was driving to work, I said, God, it was still dark outside. I said, God, I know I'm here for a reason. I intend to be guided to the highest path, the highest light, and do the most I can. And then I saw a shooting star and I thought, oh, there's a sign. And for a while I was seeing shooting stars everywhere. I was getting greeting cards with shooting stars. And I thought, oh, that's a sign. That's a sign. So I kept trudging up the path, escaping fear. I was married to an alcoholic that sent me to Al-Anon, and you get a lot of education there at Al-Anon. That gets you a little bit higher. You know, I was crawling up the hill there. And then one day when I was meditating, I saw like a blackboard in front of me and there was script writing on it. And I thought, well, I wonder if that's telling me to try guided writing. So after a lot of trial and error, I was finally getting somewhere. I must have been talking to my guides and they said, you know, we will help you with the stars. We'll help you with other herbs and flowers. And I said, can you help me with the stock market? And they said, well, if that's what you want. And believe it or not, there are guides who would help you with the stock market, and it did very well. And it's important for us to let go of beliefs that do not serve us. And I learned that years ago, that the belief that we can catch things does not serve us. But if you believe it, you program the cells of your body. You tell your cells what to believe. And when you tell your cells that you can catch things, then you can. If you tell your cells that you are sick, you will stay sick. You need to tell your cells what you want for yourself. And so I told my cells, I am divine. I have the power of God. I am totally immune to any illness. And it works. It works. But I had to get past fear. As I was writing this script, every day I practiced channeling every day. And then one day, someone sent me an email. Faye, her name was Corbett then. Faye sent me an email. She doesn't remember this, but it had in it a glyph. It looks kind of like a centipede with a little skeletal line around it. And it says star glyph to remove parasitic DNA mutation that invites in entities and is an energetic link to fear programming. The glyph restores the DNA. And it says, please circulate widely and reproduce freely. Use with integrity. It said, removing parasitic DNA mutations. Humans were DNA altered by genetic engineering at the time of the fall of Atlantis and Babylonia. A parasitic mutation attached recessive gene to DNA, making humans susceptible to entities. Anybody, should I send one of these around? Anybody want to see that? And I will share these with ever, you know, if anybody's interested. Can we just go ahead and pass that around, please? See that? So I thought, well, fear, it's, you know, a virus, I'm not a virus, but a parasite that would hold fear in us. And here I was just really, this fear was just possessing me. So I cut it out and I took the glyph and I put it on my solar plexus. I must have been guided to do that. And when I did that, I felt this tremendous commotion going on in my liver. I mean, so like something jumping around. If any women have children, you know what one's jumping around inside. And I thought, holy cow. And so I asked my guides, I said, whoever could do that, whoever would have that much ability to give that much power to a drawing on a piece of paper, I can do that. I can do that. So I said, tell me how to do that. And so they gave me instructions. They said, well, you just decide what you wanted to say and you draw the the little, the glyph. And then you have a little ceremony. And I thought, ceremony, okay, I was a Catholic. Oh, prayer, candle, yeah, I can do that. All right. So I tried and I didn't do too well at first. I just didn't have much luck. And then a friend called and she said, Jean, I've got a bad infection in my foot. Do you have anything where she got some glass in her foot and she got it out. And she said, anything that will help this. It's badly infected. The tissue is necrotic. She said, I don't want to take antibiotics. And so I said, Kathy, would you mind, would you do a little research with me? I'm going to create a couple glyphs. And she said, sure. And so I sent her 2 glyphs, one to kill bacteria, the other one to speed the healing. The next morning she called and she said, whoa, this is working. She said, the pain is gone, the swelling is gone, the redness is gone. And 2 weeks later it had been healed. And I thought, okay, now I'm on to something. And I realized the reason I wasn't getting anywhere before, I was just saying joy, energy and stuff. And I realized, or was told, that the reason that I wasn't getting anywhere in life is because I was holding all these negative emotions in us. Stuff that we've been carrying for lifetimes and lifetimes. And so the first glyph I wrote, that was to remove fear. And so I put it against my solar plexus and I felt stuff coming out of my breast and out of my arms. And I thought, whoa, this is really interesting. This is amazing. So I kept using these. When I started, then I created one to remove anger, to remove sadness, to remove heartache, to remove guilt. And I had it all. I had it all. And so little by little, I had no intention of doing anything with this, no intention of writing a book. And I didn't care anything about all these other people. All I was concerned about was myself. I needed some healing and I needed it bad. And so I just kept on working with it. And little by little, I kept feeling a little better all the time, feeling better. And then after this was actually years I was working with this, creating more. I created one to remove toxic matter from the body. And all the time I felt like these were my ideas. But I had a reading by the woman who did this, Judith Moore, and she said, this is why you came here. She said, this is, and she said, we went through a meditation. She says, I see you sitting in front of some tablets in a cavern in Peru. So was I getting these off these tablets? Perhaps so. I wasn't sure, but I just kept on going, and they're just little childlike drawings. I have no degree in art. I don't think I'll even come close to a degree in art. But I just did these little drawings, and I had them on little 3x5 cards all over the place. And my husband at that time, he said, Jean, you can't do this. We got to get organized. And he got it into the computer. And if it hadn't been for him, I don't think I'd have ever got my first book out, because he got it all organized in the computer. And so I just kept going. And then people I'd meet, they'd say, Jean, I'm getting the message. You're supposed to write a book. And I kept thinking, not me, not me. So several people said that. And then I got a very direct, yes, you need to write a book. At the time, one time I was in the kitchen and I said to myself, I wonder if God will talk to me. And I heard very clearly, well, yes, I'll talk to you. And I thought, oh my God. And I got my notebook. I wrote down everything. And I got a very simple reading. It was about 18 years ago. And I felt like it sounds like somebody talking to a third grader, but that's probably where I was at the time. And it said, you and I are one. You and I are one with all things. And it was just very simple reading. It says, please understand, you must speak out. I love it when you speak out. I love it when you sing. And I thought, sing, oh my God. And so you cannot learn if you do not speak out. And whatever source said to me is to everybody, you must speak out. You must speak out. Every one of you has a story to tell. Every one of you is holding something inside that someone else would benefit for. But if you're afraid to come up here, you need to work on that. Join Toastmasters or something. Everybody needs to speak out. Okay. So I went ahead, it took me 3 years to get that first book out. And I thought, well, we'll quit at that, but that didn't work out too well. First book was a lot of getting the emotional things. The second was the physical things. And I just kept going on and on. And then I realized that I was being given the picture of what, like, I thought, okay, let's do this one for allergy. And I was immediately would see a spiral with an arrow through it. So I kept creating ones, and I was told sometimes I would get a direct, you need to create a glyph that says this, one that resolves damaged nerve bundles. And so I would just went ahead and created that. And years later, a couple of years later, there was a man that I met who gave me a ride to Asheville, and my car was in the repair shop there. And I gave him a copy of one of my books. And later on, he said that he had serious nerve damage from crystalline amphetamine. He had a drug problem. And he said it left him impotent. And he said that he opened the book, and it opened right to this page of this glyph that was to repair nerve damage. He said he used that glyph, and he said the next morning it was back all the way. He said, I felt like a 20-year-old. And I thought, well, I guess God had something in mind when he gave me that glyph, but there's a lot of people who've gotten a lot of help from these glyphs. But the one to remove fear, I kept using it and using it because I had a lot of fear. And I thought, well, if one glyph will work, how about a bunch of them, like 8 of them. So I took 8 of them like that. This is a glyph to remove fear. And this is just within the last couple of years. And I put it by the side of my bed. And there's a more time in the morning when you're half asleep and half awake, which I call all channels are open. So I grabbed that and I put it between my hands and I laid there like that. And I felt so much stuff coming out of my legs, out of my abdomen. After a short time, I had to let go because it was just, I was just, it was really rattling me. And for the first time, I had some relief from an irritable bowel problem. That's what fear does. All physical issues stem from emotional issues. And you cannot heal your physical issue completely unless you heal the emotional issues. Okay. That's important to know. It's important to know. When you change your thinking, your experience in life will change. When you think about, if you want to move toward ascension, you have to let go of what's holding you back. And you have to let go of the ignorance of believing that people in authority are not lying to you. People are paid, our government is corrupt. If you haven't figured out that, then you need to stop and do a little research, because our government is corrupt and people are paid to keep you in control. They are paid to control you. And any questions? Anybody has a question? Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Suppose we make it past and become ascended. Do we have a responsibility to bring others to that point for help? Or can we do it from a non-physical? once we are.
Okay, when you're talking,
significantly ascended.
now, when you're talking about ascended,
In other words, how much can we do without books and papers and, you know, going around and meeting and sharing and caring, which is all one.
what you do is,
How do we change the world? I mean, and just to summarize, back in, when I began transcendental meditation, there was some change in the behavior of full crime rates in various cities.
Mhm.
The number of people that I should say meditate. In other words, they weren't necessarily going out and shaking hands, passing around books and papers. Not that that would hurt. I mean, that's obviously. But how much do you have to do other than sitting in your room and meditating and realizing states of consciousness of our sense state of consciousness? Can you just do that, or you got to get out and press the flesh and wear some shoe leather? That's my question.
asked to be guided. Just say what you want. Say, what do you want me to do? Go into meditation and say, and you will get the guidance you need. And for everybody, it's probably going to be different.
Oh,
I had never figured part of my job would to be up here. I never had.
Mhm.
And it depends on what your calling is. We all had a calling before we came in, before we were incarnated. We said, I'm going down to the earth and I'm going to do this. Okay. And obviously I did too. And then I get down to the earth and you know, and so all of us did. And then we get down here and we can't remember anything. We don't know what's going on. And so I said, I want to be guided. And I suggest everybody that say, I want to be guided to be the most that I can be. I want to be the highest light. I want to do whatever it takes. And I want to be of service. I want to be of service. I didn't come here to lay on the beach in the sun every day. I came here to be of service. Okay. I didn't know it then because I was too afraid to come out and be of service. So it's take one day at a time, one step at a time, and just say, tell me what you want me to do. Tell me what you want me to do. What can I do? Where can I be the most help? Show me the book, the person, whatever it takes. Every day, I was told to empower myself. Every morning I get up, I say, I am divine. I have the power of God. I am the light. I am the love. I am the truth. Because you are. You are. I am unlimited. Every morning, stand up and say that I am unlimited. I am unstoppable, and I will not let fear stop me. We are programmed. We have been programmed for a long time. And so we have a lot of programming in us that is not for our highest good. And we are the only ones who can change that. We are the only ones who can change that. You will not hear anything on the television that is going to help you with ascension. I got rid of my television set more than 10 years ago. I know a lot of you like to watch certain programs and where people are addicted. They're addicted to their TV sets and we think it's there to entertain us. And watch your program and then turn it off and unplug the TV. Because you're not going to get anything to help get you toward ascension off that television set. It was not created for your entertainment. Are there any other questions? Let me see if we can buy one. Let's make sure I covered everything here.
One follow-up,
What's that?
a follow-up from my last question. Getting out and doing something, what happens if you've been all over the world since a certain point of consciousness while a child spent 60 years still haven't seen it? Does that mean there aren't enough of us around to believe the way you and I and most people? Or is there a bigger plan than the government and all these bad, nasty people running around forcing us to do this and trying to control our lives? What happened to so-called enlightened people, and why aren't they having better success in a world that appears to be failing and falling under these very, very significant states of duress? How come we can't change? Is my question. That's my question.
It is.
If we're ascended and we have come to groups like this, how come we can't change what's going on? Or why isn't it?
I'm sorry, I've forgotten your name. John?
Wait, John. Oh, that John. Yeah, I'm John too.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. John, the bone behind you. Did you have something you want to say? Okay.
I'm not doing what I am.
Yeah, I can't even read.
I told one Sunday here, I told about meeting a man in Walmart. And the guy's standing there looking absolutely lost. And I says, are you having a problem? He says, yes, I do. So we got to talking. And I was telling him my life experiences. And he says, I told him my name was John. He says, John, can I give you a hug? And he hugged me. He says, thank you. You taught me what I needed to know. So I say, yeah. I teach people one at a time, maybe one a year,
Right.
maybe one a week. I don't know. But I teach individually people. And when we get enough people educated, the world will make a drastic change. I know it.
Right. It's slow. It's taking, it seems like it's taking forever. And you're right.
It
But
does.
things are slowly changing and
It's one day at a time, one person at a time. And if
starting with ourselves,
it will change.
starting with ourselves. Right. One thing I'm getting repeatedly though, do not believe everything you hear or read. That is so important. Do not believe everything you hear or read. If it's not coming from within you, spend time in meditation and say, show me the way. Show me what you want me to do. Show me what the answer is. And you will get your answers. And it will come to you, believe me. But you have to ask. You have to ask. There's times where I say, why didn't you tell me this? Why didn't you tell me something? And I said, well, you didn't ask. Well, right. Okay. Okay, I think that just about covers it all. And I want to thank everybody. Oh, I went one more thing. When I finished, this is my 4th book. And so I thought, well, I need some endorsements. I thought, I'm just going to ask God for an endorsement. Okay. All right. Go right to the top and ask for an endorsement. And so I got Consider these glyphs as my gift to humanity. My desire is for all to have the ability to heal themselves of any affliction. Do not despair for any reason. You have the power within you. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.